everybody. My name is ProfesorRich, and I'm a professional English teacher. Today, in this video, we're going to talk about the second conditional. Normally, that's the conditional we use for hypothetical situations, but in this video, you're going to see how to use the second conditional in natural, real, conversational English, and for other reasons than the hypothetical. So let's take a look at this. If it were up to me, I'd stay on the main road. If it were up to me, I'd stay on the main road. Look at that sentence. What is the function, the meaning of if it were up to me, I'd? Look at the picture and look at this phrase. If it were up to me, I'd. And then you have three options. Notice that none of those options mentions hypothetical. What do you guys think? What do you think in the chat? If you are joining us today live, congratulations. You can interact with the chat. That's over there on PC and down below on mobile devices. If you are not joining us live, then make sure that you smash that like button and hit subscribe, because we love you and this is the place to be to learn real conversational English. If it were up to me, I'd. So the answer for this one is advice, or you might also say it's an opinion. If it were up to me, in other words, if I were in control or in charge, this is what I would do. This could be used like advice. For example, someone says, "Hey, Rich, what should I do?" And I say, if it were up to me, I'd. So a way of advice. Also could be an opinion. I have something to say about our car journey. If it were up to me, I'd drive on the main road. That's me giving an opinion, even criticism. All right, so that's how we'll be looking at this today, looking at the second conditional. Let's go over the traditional grammar of the second conditional, something I'm sure you probably already know. So the traditional grammar, we have our grammar grandma there. The second conditional is used for unreal, imaginary, or hypothetical situations. So if I won the lottery, this means I didn't win the lottery. We know that because I'm using a second conditional, so the situation is unreal. It's not true. And we use it for unreal, imaginary situations in the present or future. Obviously, that can confuse beginners in English because we use the form of the past, the past form, but the meaning is the present or future. I'm sure you know that, don't you? Well, you do now. You can also see here a little point on punctuation. So we have the clause if subject plus past and the clause subject plus would plus infinitive. We can put those clauses in any order. So if clause and then subordinate clause, or the other way. And you can see here that with one order, with the if clause first, then we must have a comma. We must have a comma. I'm a very flexible guy when it comes to punctuation, but with this issue, it's not flexible. You gotta have a comma there. And for the other one, no comma. And that is because if acts like a connecting word. So if acts to connect the clauses like that, I'd go, if connects, I were you, the other clause. So we don't need a comma. All right? So that's our traditional grammar. Let's go back into the meaning. So, oh, by the way, you should like and subscribe. What is the meaning of this phrase? Listen to the phrase. If I had the chance, I'd go to Spain. If I had the chance, I'd go to Spain. So take a look at that. You have options A, B, or C. What do you think is the meaning out of A, B, or C? That's right, Maria. By saying, if I had the chance, it actually means I do not have the chance. So lots of people here talking about a wish or desire. Well done, well done. That is correct. Here we're talking about what I want. If I had the chance, I'd go to Spain. It's like saying, I want to go to Spain, but I can't right now. Isn't it? It's like saying, I want to go to Spain, but I can't right now. Fantastic. Let's try another one. Oh, you should subscribe. Sorry, that was a mistake, by the way. I didn't mean to spam you again with my like and subscribe thing. Next phrase. If I were to guess, I'd say it's gonna rain. If I were to guess, I'd say it's gonna rain. If I were to guess, I'd say it's gonna rain. What do you think about that? Is that an A, a B, or a C? If I were to guess, I'd say this is going to be a good class. If I were to guess, I'd say you're on for a 7.5 in your IELTS exam. All right, well done, folks. We are talking here about a prediction. We could also say that this is a speculation or a piece of deduction. All right, let's go for another one. Listen to the phrase and think about the meaning. We could fix it up if we had more time. We could fix it up if we had more time. We could fix it up if we had more time. We could fix it up if we had more time. What do you think about that, folks? What is the meaning here? A, B, or C? That's right. So here we have a possibility. And to be fair, I think here it's okay to call this a hypothetical. Actually, we can call them all hypotheticals from a grammar or form perspective. But here we're looking at a functional meaning perspective. All right, next one. Listen. When you listen, can you try to type the words you hear into the chat over there? If I could do it over, I'd do things differently. If I could do it over, I'd do things differently. If I could do it over, I'd do things differently. If I could do it over, I'd do things differently. All right. Well done, Anawat, who got it perfectly. And Zoya almost, but you missed. You missed the magic comma. Not bad, Ashley, but what happened to the capital I? Maria, pretty good, but with a few typos. Well done, everybody. So, what's the meaning? A, B, or C? It is a little bit tricky here because we do actually have different options. We got those B's coming in. That's right. This one is a regret. If I could do it over, if I could do it all over, which means if I could do it again, I'd do things differently. So we have seen already, we have seen 5 new phrases for talking to other people using the second conditional. So these are your phrases of the day. If you have vocabulary notes, then you should write these in your vocabulary notebook. And if you don't have a vocabulary notebook, you should have a vocabulary notebook. I recommend a physical notebook, that is pen and paper. It is the best. Although a digital notebook is second best, which is much better than having no notebook at all. So there are your phrases of the day, and you can see the meaning, the functions for each one. If we had more time, we could. Notice the use of could there. Could is the same as would be able to. So if we had more time, we would be able to. If we had more time, we could. Right? It's just a hypothetical, a would, but with ability. We could. If it were up to me, I'd. We're using that for advice or opinion. If it were up to me, I'd do a class on the third conditional. If I could do it over, I'd. For regret. If I could do it over, I would tell people to subscribe to the channel less. No, I would do it more. Yeah, more. If I had the chance, I'd. Is a wish or a desire. If I had the chance, I'd have 6 monitors. For sure. If I had the chance, I'd have another coffee prepared. And if I were to guess, I'd say, right? Remember, that's for a guess or deduction, speculation, a prediction. If I were to guess, who do you think's going to win the football match tomorrow? Oh, if I were to guess, I'd say Liverpool. All right, so there's your phrases of the day. Now, we're going to practice pronunciation, folks. Are you ready? So if you are in a place where you can speak out loud and try to copy the words and sounds that I use, then that is excellent. So, I will post the phrase in the chat, and then I'll say it. The first one, number 1. If we had more time, we could go to the beach. After I say the phrase, you replay the sounds in your head and then say it. If we had more time, we could go to the beach. Do you notice the word stress? If we had more time, we could go to the beach. All right. Good job. People who are watching live, do you want mouth cam or are we good like this? Let's have a vote on mouth cam. And while we have a vote on mouth cam, we will do the next phrase. Listen, replay the sounds in your head, and then say it. If I could do it over, I'd learn more. If I could do it over, I'd learn more. If I could do it over, I'd learn more. Notice the linking. If I could do it over, I'd learn more. Do it. If I could do it over, I'd learn more. Okay, and the last bit of pronunciation today, which will not be mouth cam. Mouth cam surprisingly unpopular today. Phrase number 3. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. So, with British English, you know, we drop the T. So we've got it'll. Am I dropping the T? It'll. Yes, I'm dropping the T. It'll. It's almost like a K, isn't it? It'll. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. If you want to say the T, that's okay. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. You need a T then. It'll all be great. And with the it'll, we've got a lol joining with the lol, be great. If I were to guess, I'd say it'll all be great. All right. Fantastic. So, I'm going to show you a situation and I want you to type things to say in the chat using the phrases from today. You will see a situation, a picture. I want you to type in the chat the phrases from today with your own ideas. All right, so look at that picture. And you can see the phrases in the top right. And I'll also paste those into the chat for you. So type your ideas into the chat. How can you say things about this picture using the target language for today? And of course, if you are enjoying this lesson, then please do smash that like button and hit subscribe. If I could do it over, I'd plant flowers in another place, said Sleepwalker. Sonia says, if I could do it over, I'd water more. So 2 issues with this, Sonia. We need, if I could do it over, comma, I'd water them more. Water is a transitive verb, which means we need an object. If I could do it over, comma, I'd water them more. Zoya says, if I could do it over, I would plant the flowers not so close to each other. Full stop. Well done, Zoya. Missing the comma. Otherwise, fantastic. And Ashley Chen says, if I could do it over, I'd never grow any plants in the first place. All right, we have something different from Anawat. If it were up to me, I'd change my career because I don't have a green thumb. That's fantastic. Well done, Anawat. If it were up to me, I'd change my career because I don't have a green thumb. Fantastic. Okay, let's have a look at the next situation. Here's the next situation. You can type now in the chat your ideas for this situation, and I'll let you know about the English. So in the picture, we have a busy airport and a departure board, which looks confusing. We have people looking quite stressed, as they often do at airports. And Sleepwalker says, if we had time, we could drink coffee. Sleepwalker corrected themselves. That's called autonomous learner correction. Well done. If we had time, we could drink coffee before our plane takes off. Fantastic. Just the before our plane will take off. That would be better as present simple, before our plane takes off. If I had the chance, I'd go back home, says Sonia. Well done. If I could do it over, I'd travel more, says Maria del Carmen. Well, you can still travel now, can't you? If I had the chance, I wouldn't travel to this destination at this time of year. Well done, Zoya. That's really good. If I were to guess, I'd say some of them might miss their flights. Might miss their flights. If I were to guess, I'd say some of them might miss their flights. If it were up to me, I'd ward off the crowd, which is packed like a sardine can. Or packed in like sardines. If it were up to me, I'd ward off the crowd, which is packed in like sardines. And Delaney has mentioned something which looks not quite related to the picture. So we're typing sentences related to the picture. Okay, next situation. Type phrases in the chat for the situation below. What do you guys think about this situation? We've had a really good wide range of phrases being used today. And folks, do of course remember that you can use emotes in the chat now, and they will bounce around the screen when you use them. Isn't that cute? Amazing. Who doesn't want that? Sleepwalker says, if it were up to me, I'd choose another direction. Really? I think it looks like a good direction. I suppose it depends what you want from life, doesn't it? Zoya says, if it were up to me, I'd travel more often. Travel more often. Manjula also, if it were up to me, or if it was up to me, I would choose another destination. We can say was, it's okay. It's okay to say was. If I had the chance, I'd go up to the peak of the mountain. Rennie, that is fantastic. Thank you. Love it. Okay, and just one more situation, folks. Here we go. Last situation for today. To practice these natural second conditional sentences. Type the phrases in the chat. So, Sleepwalker, that's a very interesting one, but I am going to provide a correction to your sentence here. So, because you want to say a hypothetical past, then we make this into a mixed conditional. And we say, if I had the chance, I'd have come to this shop earlier. If I had the chance, I'd have come to this shop earlier. Ashley Chen says, if I had a chance, it's if I had the chance, Ashley, if I had the chance, I'd order it earlier. And Manuel's talking about an earlier part of the stream. So sorry, Manuel, I'm not going to highlight you because I think you're watching an earlier part of the stream. If I could do it over, I would buy the games last week. Again, Zoya, slightly better if we say I would have bought in this case. But actually, it does sound okay with the phrase, if I could do it over. If I could do it over, I would buy the games last week. It's like, because if I could do it over is like, if I could live this experience again. If I had the chance, I'd come here first thing in the morning and grasp my basic necessities as much as I can. So grasp, I don't think is quite the right word there. Maybe get hold of is the idea you're going for. Or just buy my basic necessities. And Alia says, if I were to guess, I say someone bought them in a large amount. Well done, Sonia. If I'd had time, I'd have bought it yesterday. Sonia adapting the phrase there to use a third conditional. All right, folks, well done. Fantastic bit of practice. Thus concludes our lesson today on the third conditional. So if you have enjoyed that, then make sure that you smash that like button and hit subscribe. And now we're moving on to question time. So any questions that you have about English, do let me know in the chat and I will do my best to help you with those questions. You can also download the notes from today from the link in the chat. And also the link down below the video, which I will post there in just a second. All right, so. Oh, that's an interesting one, Sleepwalker. Can you pronounce "aw" and "or"? Is there any difference? Yes, there is, as you can see. "Aw" or. So this here is like, "Aw, how cute," versus "awe," as in, I was full of awe. So that's that, really. Next question. Did I answer that question a little bit too quickly? We can end the stream here, but I am available for questions if you guys have them. Manuel Gorrillo says, are you at 21B Baker Street? Looks like Sherlock Holmes' drawing room. Watson, I think you'll find this situation is quite elementary. Let me explain. For some time now, I've been thinking about the various possibilities in the case. They appeared most clear to me at first. However, when contemplating further, I realized there was more to the situation than initially met the eye. Watson, hand me your revolver, please. But Holmes... Now, Watson, I merely intend to demonstrate a point. Anawat says, what is the difference between using second and third conditional as a past regret? So, the third conditional, Anawat, is the archetypal conditional for regret. If I'd done it earlier, I'd have received a bigger prize. If I'd studied more, I'd have earned more money. Okay, so the third conditional really is the archetypal, as in the typical regret tense. Of course, the third conditional doesn't have to represent regret. It can also represent relief. If I'd have gone that way, I'd have fallen down the hole. So I can also represent that I'm happy with my path. The second conditional for regret is a little bit less common, but it is possible in the sense that we said, if I could do it over, I'd, and then we can follow this by an infinitive, like talking about the stream. If I could do it over, I'd start with some music, dance around a bit, and then tell everyone about grammar and stuff. It's a way of representing regrets. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Sounds perfectly natural. We could argue that it's a little bit more conversational than the third conditional possibility. And there are other possibilities with the second conditional, like if I had another shot at it, if I had another chance, if I could live it all again, right? These are all ways of expressing regret. And as I said, they're maybe a bit more conditional, a bit more conversational than using the third conditional. Of course, the most common way to represent regret is I shoulda, or I shouldn't have, or even I wish I hadn't, I wish I had. And the really strong one, if only I hadn't, if only I'd, yeah. So these are probably the easier and more common ways of expressing regret. I think without going into very detailed nuance, I don't think there's much more to say about that other than you've got lots of options. Some of them are very common, like the shoulda and shouldn't. Others are a bit more conversational, like if I could do it over. And then others are very grammatically impressive, like the third conditional. Ooh. Great, let's move on. Sleepwalker says, I've seen such sentences in the dictionary. If it will make you happy, I'll stay at home. Why do we use will in the if clause? If you'd all stop shouting, I'll explain the situation. Oh, nice. If it'll make you happy. Well, if it'll make you happy. If it'll make you happy. Yeah, that's a really good one, Sleepwalker. So, we use... Ooh. We use will in the if clause to represent behavior. And it's absolutely colloquial. If you'll all stop asking so many questions, I could think for a minute. So you can see that traditionally, or more generally, we'll represent that with just present simple. If you stop asking, then I will... But if we use will in the if clause, if you'll all stop asking, then it's colloquial and talking about behavior, people's behavior. Now, you gave another example with would. And that's an interesting one. In the if clause, using would. Because actually teachers often tell you, don't use would in the if clause. But of course, you can use would in the if clause. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at it. So you can notice that we can actually use the second conditional or the first conditional with this form, where the contraction here actually means would. But you can notice something about this. Again, there's something sort of behavioral. It's almost like we're expressing annoyance. Annoyance, either that you are doing something or not doing something. So if you'd give me a hand, we'll get it done quicker. If you'd stop for a minute, I'd be able to think. It's like you're expressing that momentary annoyance that someone is or isn't doing something. Again, this is colloquial. Now, the really weird thing about this is you can even do it for things that aren't people. If it had just stopped raining for a minute, again here we're saying would. If it would just stop raining, if it would just stop raining for a minute. And again, it's colloquial and it expresses exasperation, frustration, annoyance. All right? So I hope that helps, Sleepwalker. It's quite advanced and it is beyond the rules of traditional grammar. Let's see what's next. I thought the second conditional is for the present and the third is for the past. The thing is, Zoya, that is traditionally true, but it's just that there are possibilities beyond that. Right? Let me think about something to help you. How about this? If I could be born again, I'd be born in Oxford. Or even this. If I could be from anywhere, I'd be from Monaco. Now, if you think about that, it obviously affects the past. So obviously, there is a way of using the second conditional and it being about the past. It might be an unusual situation and it might not be like 99% of the time, the second conditional will be about present or future only. But the point is, it is possible to talk about the past using the second conditional. Let's see if I can do another. If the current year were 1950, we'd all be smoking cigars. We can flip it as well. So obviously there is some interaction with the past there. There's something going on with the past. And then we have the if I could change my past, I would go and study at Oxford and become a brain surgeon. Simple as that. So it's possible. But it's not the most common situation. The most common situation is second conditional for present and future, third conditional for past. That's from the grammar perspective. But then if you're operating on a functional language level, where you consider what is the meaning of each phrase, then you can look at it like that. A bit more nuanced. It's a bit more advanced. A bit more 8.0. A bit more C2. All right. Bum, 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 bum. If plus subject plus will would. Do you use such a structure? Yeah. I rarely use if you will. But would, I think so, yes. Let me think. I think rather than if, I use it with stuff like I wish and maybe if only, but more with I wish. Like I wish the sun would come out. And it's the same idea actually, because it's the same as saying if the sun would just come out, we could go to the beach, right? So, yeah, I can't think of myself using it with if so much, but this one, yeah. I wish the sun would come out, just like that. Can I think of any others that I would use? If you'll do that, if he'll do that, then yeah, if he'd help more, if he would help more, if he helped more, if he would help more, if you'd study more. It expresses a kind of annoyance, which maybe it's not good to express. Maybe it's more of a sibling thing, you know, you talk about your annoying brother or sister. Oh, if he'd shut up, then I could concentrate. But yeah, honestly, I can't think of using it myself a lot, but I do hear it sometimes. Okay, Zoya, with probably the last question of today, says, what's the difference between must and have to? How come must is for rules, but also inner motivation, and have to for outside pressure? So the reality is that these distinctions are not necessarily made by native speakers. In fact, they often use must and have to pretty much interchangeably. For obligation, have to or have gotta is preferred, especially when speaking. So I know there are these ideas about how must is an obligation from yourself. No, I must do it. I have to do it. I must do it. He said, I must do it. He said, I have to do it. Little nuances like that. But actually, linguistic studies show us that people don't always or even often make those distinctions. In fact, they just use must and have to interchangeably. But have to is more common for obligation. For deduction and speculation, must is more common. He must be a chef. Look at his hat. He must have been a chef. Look at the... Look, he must have been a chef. Look at the chef's hat in these old photos. Yeah, so we prefer must for that. You can use have to, though. He has to be a chef. He has to have been a chef. Have to, you have to obey, but there's no rules. It's not true, Manuel. People don't follow that. They don't follow that distinction. You have to put out that cigarette now. This is a hospital. You can't smoke here. You have to put it out now. You must go outside to smoke. You have to go outside to smoke. You must put that out. I can just use it interchangeably. There's no difference. So what you learnt in the grammar books is just wrong. There's no difference. And you can check that in the book, the excellent grammar book, Practical English Usage by Michael Swan, or Grammar for English Language Teachers by Martin Parrott. And you'll see that it's not, there is really no distinction. People just use it, whatever. We might say something like with signs, you see must more, but I think it's just because it's shorter. Like you must go this way, you must not smoke here. It's just short. Maybe a bit more formal because it's a modal, not a semi-modal. But yeah, that's it. All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining me today. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. My name has been Professor Rich. I hope that you have a lovely, lovely rest of your week. And you join me again on Saturday for another stream. Have a lovely day, have a lovely week. Keep learning English, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.